All right. Now, this next topic is more on the basis as far as how alcohol affects the body. And along this topic, we look at blood alcohol levels and the impact once that develops in the body. Unlike food, alcohol is quickly absorbed in the bloodstream without needing to be broken down by digestion. The absorption begins almost immediately after drinking. A small amount, 20%, goes directly into the stomach, through the stomach wall into the bloodstream. The rest, 70-80%, pass through the intestinal tract and through sweat and perspiration. A small amount through there. Once alcohol is in the bloodstream, it eventually reaches every cell in the body. When alcohol is consumed faster than the body can break it down or get rid of it, it begins to accumulate in the blood. This buildup of alcohol in the bloodstream produces behavior changes. As the level increases in the brain, it takes about 20 minutes from the time alcohol is consumed to reach the brain. Blood alcohol content, BAC, refer to percentage of blood alcohol or alcohol in the blood. A BAC of 0.05, for example, means 5 parts per 10,000 parts blood. As long as the alcohol is consumed faster than the body can get rid of it, the BAC will continue to rise. The higher BAC level, the more the brain is affected, causing changes in behavior. Typical behavior changes with increased BACs. 0.02, reached after about 1 drink. Lightheartedness, drinkers feel some effect, warmth, and relaxation. 0.04, after a couple of drinks, most people feel relaxed, talkative, happy. Skin may be a little flushed. Now at 0.05, lightheartedness, giddiness, lowered inhibitions, less control over thoughts may be experienced. Restraint and judgment are lowered. This is where the opposite sex are looking really good. Okay. 0.06, judgment, somewhat impaired, ability to make rational decisions about personal capabilities is affected. This is where we think we're looking really good. And then we get into trouble, you know. 0.08 is pretty much across the board in all states now, where a person will get a DUI because definite impairment of muscle coordination and slower reaction time are assessed. And 0.10, speech, clumsy speech may become fuzzy, clear deterioration of reaction time and muscle control are continuing. 0.15, definite impairment of balance and movement equivalent to a half pint of whiskey in the bloodstream. This is, now a lot of states will make an interpretation between people receiving education only and rehabilitation. At this point in time, if the person has no other criteria to show that there's a substance abuse, that would be used to determine, because the person having a tolerance at that level and not being passed out is a physical abnormality. You know, the person has a significant tolerance that they have built up in the body for alcohol. So that's enough to warrant the person being in rehabilitation across the board. Now, people can get in at less than that in the BAC if they see other criteria that the person is able to be identified as an abuser, a substance abuser. Okay. Now, 0.20, motor and emotional control center is measurably affected. Slurred speech, staggering, lost balance, double vision can be present. 0.30 is what we call the anesthetic level. That literally a person, this is the level of alcohol is in the body as equal to the depressant that person receives when they're put under for surgery. So for you to still be sober at that point in time is a remarkable tolerance. 0.40, usually unconscious, skin is clammy. 0.45, respiration slows down, can stop altogether, which means death. And 0.50 or above, over 50% of the people die at that rate. the people who don't usually have some significant brain damage as a result of that, their use at that time. How do people get that high? I've worked in a variety of environments, from major cities to tribes, tribal and Native American tribal, and what I've seen is that when a person is drinking, they have difficulty in sleeping, so they pass out, wake up, drink some more, and what's happening is that the BAC levels are gradually building up in the body until they get to that extreme. Okay, now the body weight. The larger the person, the more water weight is in the body, thereby diluting the alcohol. Bigger people can drink more than smaller people and have equal BAC levels. Or I'm sorry, bigger people can drink more than smaller people, yeah, and have equal BAC levels just because the alcohol is diluting into more water in the body. The sex of the drinker, women have a denser body muscle type, so there is less water weight in the body than in a man. So because of that, a woman who weighs the same as a man will have a higher BAC because there's less water to dilute it in. Also, women fluctuating during their menstrual cycle will also increase in BAC levels. And also if they're on birth control, we believe that has something to do with the hormones that are changing and altering during those periods of time. Food in the stomach, food absorbs alcohol briefly, slowing down the rate of absorption, but don't guarantee on it. Physical condition of the liver, of course, if the person has deteriorated liver, it's not filtering out the alcohol, or if the person is under 12 or older, over 65, their liver capability is decreasing in the filtering process. So the person at an older age will have a higher BAC because their liver isn't functioning as well as it would be for somebody a younger age. Or if they have liver damage, period, which could happen to anybody. Okay, next is carbonation. Beer, that sort of thing, raises the BAC level faster because alcohol is absorbed quicker. Carbon dioxide gas pressures the stomach, moving alcohol quickly into the intestines for absorption. And metabolizing of alcohol, the body's, especially the liver, treats alcohol as a toxic substance, so it's going to filter out alcohol first. That means if you're using another mood-altering substance, that's probably going to flow more directly into the bloodstream at that time. If the liver becomes damaged, tolerance and develops, this process becomes slower or faster. Though the process may become quicker during development of tolerance, it will slow down once damage occurs in liver. So the person may develop a sense of tolerance to alcohol in the body as a result of continued use for a period of time, or for a long period of time. And then that slowly decreases as liver damage increases. A normal liver can metabolize the following amount of alcohol in 1 hour. 12-ounce beer, 12 ounces of beer, 4 to 5 ounces of table wine, 3 ounces of fortified wine, Mad Dog 2020, that kind of thing. Real good champagne of wine, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, don't think so.
1.5 ounces of distilled alcohol, 80 to 90 proof. 0.75 ounces of distilled alcohol, 100 proof or 160 proof, like Everclear, that kind of thing. Molten Everclear, you could call it. Okay, how does alcohol affect the body? People who drink for years without noticing physical or medical problems, while others develop health problems after a very short time, in early stages of alcoholism. Physical problems are not always obvious. However, alcoholism progresses, so do health problems. So, alcohol is an irritant to the stomach. Small amounts of stimulate through gastric digestive juices, increasing the appetite. Heavier drinking consumption increases not only gastric juices, but excretion of acids that can upset the stomach, indigestion, nausea, and dry heaves, which is not that fun. Drinking to intoxication can interfere or stop digestion. Long-term consumption may cause gastritis, inflammation of the stomach. Production of stomach acids can cause ulcers in the intestines. If alcohol concentration is very high, muscles surrounding the stomach can spasm, trap alcohol in the stomach, causing vomiting. So there's irritation to the bowel that can happen when people continue to drink. Even people with adequate diet, if drinking alcohol can prevent themselves from getting certain vitamins and minerals and substances that the body needs when they drink. The small intestines may also develop ulcers, exposed areas in the lining that may bleed internally, cause pain, and prevent proper consumption. The liver is the most important function. Important functions of the liver include storing fat, filtering blood, breaking down waste toxic substances, storing vitamins, regulating blood sugar, and secreting bile in the stomach for digestion. It's an essential organ for life. If the liver is damaged by alcohol, all the liver functions will be affected. 3 major forms of liver disease are associated with alcohol use as fatty liver. This condition may occur in anyone who's drinking regularly that gets its name from deposits of fat in the normal liver cells. Liver becomes busy breaking down alcohol into fat that's stored in liver cells. Fatty liver is a reversible condition. We call that the beer gut. And it's reversible if the person stops drinking and probably does some sit-ups. Okay, just kidding on sit-ups, but alcohol hepatitis is a more serious form of liver disease. Like fatty liver, this condition can occur in both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. Liver becomes inflamed due to irritation of alcohol or viral causes, creating continual buildup of fat that leads to death of liver cells. Symptoms include jaundice, yellowing or coloring of the skin, white of the eyes, elevated white blood count due to the body's reaction to perceived infection, pain in the liver, and general feeling of sickness. A lot of people will interpret this as being the flu, go to bed, may not get out of bed for a week, call into work, and other people don't perceive them as being what, that see the discoloration, and then the symptoms leave them, but they still have the antibodies built up in the body. So if they continue to drink, it's going to probably continue to create irritation to the liver, which can cause more damage. Okay, so it's recommended if you have been a regular drinker to get a test. It's a very simple medical test you can take, and they can diagnose if you have hepatitis. Hepatitis B isn't necessarily lethal. Hepatitis C is, though. And in fact, more people, I think, last year died from hepatitis C than from AIDS. And there are about 4 to 5 different types of hepatitis C. One of them won't kill you, the rest of them will, in different stages, There is a cure for it. It's called interferon. It's made by the pharmaceutical companies. They say it will help to eradicate the hepatitis B from the person's system up to 60% of the people. It's a long-term medicated process. For 3 months, the person has flu-like symptoms. They may be out of work for a couple of months. It was told to me in the studies that I had done the training through the pharmaceutical companies. They said the flu-like symptoms are your immune system working, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they said. And what happens is after 6 months, they'll test the person and to see if the shots are working. If they're not working, they take the person off interferon because it's a very pricey process, and if it's not working by then, it's not gonna work. I recommend people, if that does not work, to work with a naturopath doctor. There are ways of dealing with that to increase the longevity of a person's life. Milk thistle is one known product that helps to rejuvenate liver conditions like this. So there are other variety of different treatments that they can get through naturopath doctors that they won't get through the AMA. Okay, so then we have cirrhosis of the liver develops, back to hepatitis C, the average length of life span is somewhere up to 11, 12 years if the person has it in their system. I've seen people die because what happens is that if the interferon doesn't work and they're not taking other medications, the liver will continue to deteriorate until you have ammonia flowing through your bloodstream, which is killing off more and more brain cells and everything else until the person dies. It isn't very comfortable. It's a very excruciating, painful way to go. Also, the person's energy levels are highly exhausted, so people tend to sleep a lot when they have hepatitis C. Pancreas produces digestion enzymes. Alcohol increases the production of these enzymes. Long-term use of alcohol creates an overproduction of pancreatic enzymes that can cause a condition known as pancreatitis. This condition causes a slowdown in normal pancreatic activity. As a result, absorption of the nutrients and regulation of blood sugar levels become compromised. The pancreas is responsible for production of insulin, which regulates the amount of sugar removed from the blood. Blood sugar levels rise when a person drinks, stimulating the pancreas to produce insulin. Insulin helps sugar pass from blood into cells for energy production, storage as fat in the liver, or storage of glycogen in muscle. Imbalance of production of insulin results in high and low blood sugar levels. This can result in chronic condition called hypoglycemia, which is Latin for low blood sugar. This is another test that it's recommended people are regular drinkers to have done, because it's the beginning stages of diabetes. If you don't curb the way that you drink after you've developed into this and your eating patterns, the probability of this increasing is very high, where the person will eventually need insulin. Once the body is required insulin, majority of people, the pancreas will slow down its production of insulin because it's getting it from another source. So the person will then be dependent on needing to produce this, they're needing to take injections the rest of their life for most people. Any questions on that? It's a simple remedy for people who have glycemia. It's just eating small meals and cutting out alcohol and sugars. And if you're willing to do that, the body sometimes will get healthier. Well, we'll get healthier, but at least it will become dormant as far as the progression of the pancreas problem. Okay. Heart and circulatory systems. The blood vessels in the heart cause decrease in blood flow of oxygen. A number of alcohol-related diseases can affect blood pressure, heart rhythm, and the ability of the heart to contract. Studies show that high blood pressure high blood pressure is directly connected with alcohol consumption. We know this from medical studies. Alcohol cardiomyopathy is a disease of the heart muscle caused by the alcohol consumption. The heart appears large and flabby. Call this the enlarged heart. The tissue of the heart looks similar to that tissue of liver cells damaged by cirrhosis and causes a weakening of the heart. And this will cause further problems with heart disease. But if the person stops drinking again and starts getting healthy, this will decrease. Cardiac arrhythmia is a irregular heartbeat that can occur in people with alcohol-related heart disease and others during intoxication. Hypothermia dilates the blood vessels close to the skin, even in moderate amounts. This creates a feeling of warmth that often accompanies drinking. Despite this feeling, the body loses more heat through the skin, causing overall lower body temperature. So the outlying skin, the barrier, it becomes a barrier as far as a heat barrier in the body, so that we do not lower our blood temperature. But as a release of our blood temperature as far as heat, then we become at risk of the outside elements changing our blood temperature, which turns into hypothermia. The other factor involved is in the summertime when people drink, they become more, less water because you're peeing it out quite a bit. And because they're dehydrated, this can cause people to get sunstroke. So those are factors to be aware of. Sleeping. Alcohol lowers REM sleep, rapid eye movement during dreaming stage. If a person is deprived to dream for more than a few days, they develop a lack of concentration, poor memory, anxiety, fatigue, and irritability. When a person quits drinking, there's a rebound effect during which time there's an increase of dreaming. So we don't know why we dream, but we know that it's essential, and it causes difficulty in concentration and irritability, other areas. Blood pressure, or blood. The blood contains three solid components: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The effect of alcohol on these is red blood cells production is slowed down, causing general weakness, fatigue, and various types of anemia. White blood cells, alcohol lowers the number of white blood cells, the body's main defense against infection. The body's immune system is seriously affected, leading to lowered resistance to pneumonia, colds, and other infections. Platelets are a major part of blood clotting system. Alcohol lowers the platelet count, causing the body to bleed longer and bruise easily. Urinary tract infections. Alcohol lowers the amount of hormone which aids in output of urine. This can lead to urinary tract infections, bladder infections, inflammation of prostate gland. Additionally, alcohol can damage the kidneys, the major filter organs responsible for removing and breakdown of products, waste, toxins. The kidneys are responsible for regulating blood sugar. The damage to the kidneys is thought to be connected to the increased blood pressure observed in people who drink. Okay. Respiratory system. Low to moderate amounts of alcohol increases breathing rate, while larger doses, on the other hand, decrease the rate and may contribute to breathing problems as a result. Conditions such as chronic respiratory disease, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and tuberculosis may be further aggravated by alcohol consumption. And then cancer. Studies have shown that alcohol consumption is associated with the risk of developing several types of cancer. These include cancer of the esophagus, pancreas, liver, mouth, throat, neck. People who drink and use tobacco products are at a higher risk of cancers of the mouth, throat, and lungs. Alcohol acts as a solvent, helping chemicals in tobacco and in the environment get into the cells. So when a person is drinking, that's why people smoke more when they drink, because the nicotine is getting into every cell. So the person's getting a little bit of more of a buzz when they smoke a cigarette. Decreased nutrients and oxygen. Okay, and then central nervous system includes the brain, spinal cord, nervous system throughout the body. The most obvious effect of alcohol consumption are noticeable by the effect on the brain. Alcohol is a depressant of the CNS, central nervous system. Small amounts can cause stimulation, excitement of the brain, but consumption increases CNS, central nervous system. Depression occurs, causing brain function to slow down. Alcohol is in the bloodstream, travels quickly through the brain barrier until all parts of the brain become affected. Alcohol has a toxic effect on the cells of the brain. Decreased nutrients and oxygen affect the brain more than other organs. As the brain requires more oxygen for higher energy levels, cell death occurs, causing the loss and performance changes until a rewiring occurs of your brain cells. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, cerebral cortex controls judgment. This is the first place where the blood goes to, or the alcohol goes through in the blood. Controls judgment, decision-making, perception. This is where we get our high or buzz in the front of our brain here in cerebral cortex. Cerebellum, which is in the back of the brain, controls muscle coordination. When affected by alcohol, slurred speech, staggering, and double vision occur. Medulla controls all vital functions of the body, such as heartbeat, breathing, blood circulation, and function of all the organs and system. If the medulla is affected, death results. Of course, hopefully we pass out before this happens. Most people pass out before reaching the stage, but those who drink too much, too fast, can die. Chronic heavy drinking can lead to permanent brain damage due to brain cell death, and fortunately for us, we have a lot more brain cells than we need. We process 400 billion pieces of information per second through this little computer we have in our heads. And as a result of all that activity, brain cells do die, but we have more brain cells than what we need. So if you have a brain cluster that have been killed, the surrounding brain cells will mimic the behavior and responsibility of the brain cells that died and replace that function. Okay, so lucky for us. Although I remember Dean Martin making a statement, he said that he drank so that he could get smarter. He said, serious. See, when I drink, I kill off all the dumber brain cells. I don't think that's accurate, but that's one of the good old Dean Martin statements. Okay, moving on. Blackouts. Blackouts are a temporary form of amnesia caused by alcohol. A person who is drinking may seem perfectly normal, yet later have no memory of what happened at that time. The time span can be from a few minutes to several hours to several days. I had one person that I knew that was walking intoxicated down the street of San Francisco, and a day and a half later he woke up from a blackout in Minneapolis in a detox center. What happens again is they pass out and then they wake up and they continue to drink and literally still can be in a blackout. Most people will only be for a few hours, but there are those people who...
I have an older guy I work with, he's probably later 60s, he was telling me when he was a teenager, in the 60s or whatever, young 20s, him and his buddies went up to Seattle, and it was like 3 days later he woke up in California down on the boardwalk with some woman, didn't even know how he got there, had to go call his wife.
The irony, you see, really smart people, those really intelligent guys out there say, when they have a blackout, did I do something ethically and morally against my values? The rest of us say, did I do something stupid? And the irony is that we don't, because we're not conscious, we're not aware of what our behavior was. So we could have literally done anything. But our fears are at their worst during that period of time. I mean, I remember down in Tucson, I was working as a counselor for a program called Victim Witness, and there was a man, there was a set of circumstances where this guy had two 10-year-old twin daughters that he was just taking home all the girls from the birthday party. Unfortunately, they had dropped off all the other girls, and it was just the two girls and the father, and they're broadsided by a drunk driver.
Oh dear.
The one girl was killed, and so was her father, and I went to get the mother. That was my job with the police department, to get the mother, bring her down to the emergency room. And they had brought him in on a gurney, and I could see he was babbling, and all of a sudden you could see he came out of a blackout. And he's going, what am I doing strapped to this? What's going on? So he came out of a blackout and his worst fears came to reality. What worst thing could have happened. And that's the unfortunate things about blackouts, is that you have to eventually remember. Okay, I think we're done for the day. Any questions anybody has? Shut off the little camera there.